There's something magnetic about people from old, established families. They walk into a room without needing to prove anything. No designer logos, no loud statements. Just quiet confidence that seems to have been passed down through their bloodline. But here's the truth few ever talk about. That confidence isn't accidental. It's taught, reinforced, and ritualized through family traditions, ones that have been guarded, repeated, and refined for generations. So, in this video, we're uncovering the secret family traditions that build generational confidence. The timeless practices that quietly shape self-assured, grounded, and capable heirs of the world's most powerful dynasties. Before we start, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel reveals the hidden habits of the world's elite and the timeless rules of wealth, legacy, and quiet power. Now, let's begin. 1. The family table, where confidence is first built. In old money families, the dinner table is not just a place to eat. It's the training ground for character, conversation, and composure. From a young age, children are expected to join the adults at dinner. They learn early that the art of conversation is more than just speaking. It's about listening, contributing, and carrying oneself with grace. No phones, no interruptions. Only genuine discussion, storytelling, and mutual respect. Every evening becomes a subtle lesson in how to think clearly, express ideas intelligently, and hold one's own among others, no matter their title or status. In many aristocratic families, topics of conversation are intentionally broad. History, travel, literature, ethics, current events, all designed to nurture intellectual curiosity and confidence of thought. So when these children grow up and enter high society, boardrooms, or political stages, they don't feel intimidated. They've been practicing presence, patience, and eloquence since childhood. Confidence for them was built one dinner conversation at a time. 2. The legacy stories, repetition with purpose. Every family has stories, but in families that last for generations, storytelling is not just entertainment, it's identity. Old money parents and grandparents tell tales of perseverance, honor, and family triumphs not to boast, but to anchor their children to something larger than themselves. A child raised hearing stories like, "When our great-grandfather lost everything in the market crash, he rebuilt without borrowing a cent," grows up understanding resilience. When they hear, "Your grandmother refused to sell that land even when pressured by everyone around her," they inherit conviction. This repetition of family lore plants deep psychological roots. It builds a subconscious belief that we've faced worse and prevailed. That quiet, unshakable belief that your family has always found a way becomes the foundation of generational confidence. These stories teach a child that they come from endurance, not entitlement, that they carry responsibility, not just privilege. And that is how self-assuredness begins, not in arrogance, but in belonging. 3. The art of modest mastery. One of the most powerful unspoken traditions in old money families is modest mastery, the idea that you should always be deeply competent at something, but never boast about it. It could be horseback riding, sailing, classical piano, or fencing. Each skill builds self-control, patience, and confidence through discipline. The emphasis isn't on being the best, but on being dedicated. Because true confidence doesn't come from showing off. It comes from knowing you've put in the work, that your excellence is earned and internal. In many prestigious families, mastering a skill also teaches emotional resilience. That failure, repetition, and practice are natural parts of growth. This quiet competence becomes the foundation for how they later navigate business, relationships, and leadership. They don't need to prove. They simply are. That's why you rarely see the truly old rich broadcasting their talents or wins. They know their worth internally. And that's the kind of self-assurance that no amount of money can buy for. 4. The letters to the next generation. Another rare but profound tradition in legacy families is the writing of letters to the next generation. Before passing away or reaching old age, elders often write personal letters to their children and grandchildren. Not about wealth or property, but about values, choices, and regrets. These letters are stored carefully, yes, sometimes in safes, sometimes handed down during milestone birthdays, and serve as both guidance and emotional inheritance. They remind the next generation of who they are and what they stand for. A single paragraph like "never confuse charm for character or wealth for worth" can echo for decades. It's a timeless mentorship that outlives its author. And when you grow up knowing that generations before you have left behind words of wisdom meant specifically for you, it builds a powerful inner compass, one that can't be shaken by trends, gossip, or external judgment. That's the invisible armor of the confident, knowing exactly who they are. 5. The annual family gathering. In many prominent families, there's a tradition of gathering, often at the same estate, lake house, or countryside property. Every single year. On the surface, it looks like a social event. But beneath it, these gatherings serve a much deeper purpose. They reinforce unity, belonging, and hierarchy in subtle ways. The youngest children hear stories from elders, observe family dynamics, and subconsciously absorb what stability feels like. They learn that their identity is part of something larger, a lineage that's worth preserving and representing with dignity. Even small rituals, like a shared toast, an annual game, or the passing down of an heirloom, reinforce consistency. And consistency, for a child, translates to security. That's where real confidence is born, not in chaos, but in the predictability of love, structure, and shared legacy. 6. The ritual of service. Power without arrogance. One of the most surprising traditions found in families that quietly hold power is their commitment to service. Contrary to what outsiders might assume, many old money families raise their children with an understanding that privilege demands responsibility. From volunteering at local charities to mentoring younger students or simply assisting staff respectfully within the estate, children are taught early that status does not place them above others. It places them in the service of others. It's not about virtue signaling, it's about perspective. A young heir learns to serve food at a family event or accompany a grandparent to deliver donations, and in doing so they learn humility, empathy, and gratitude. This experience grounds them. It teaches that respect is not inherited, it's earned. Through these acts, they develop an unshakable sense of inner worth that isn't tied to applause or recognition, because true confidence is never loud. It's rooted in knowing that you don't need to prove your goodness. You simply live it. And by the time these individuals grow into adults, they carry themselves with a sense of calm authority, the kind that comes from understanding both power and compassion. 7. Financial transparency at home. In many traditional households, money is a taboo subject. But in families that successfully sustain wealth for multiple generations, the opposite is true. Financial education starts at home, and it starts early. Rather than hiding family finances, old money parents often include their children in age-appropriate discussions about investment principles, philanthropy, and long-term planning. They learn the difference between income and wealth, between spending and stewardship. These conversations don't center around indulgence. They center around responsibility. A teenager might be taught how trust funds are structured, not as a trophy, but as a tool for stability. A young adult might be included in board meetings or exposed to the logic behind a family foundation's donations. Through this openness, financial confidence is built naturally, not through control or secrecy, but through understanding. Children raised in this environment don't grow up fearing money or obsessing over it. They see it as a resource to be managed wisely rather than an identity to be flaunted. That distinction is one of the clearest markers between old and new money. Where new money often chases visibility, old money values continuity. And continuity depends on one thing: financial confidence built on education, not emotion. 8. The power of names, manners, and small rituals. There's a subtle, almost invisible structure in high society families that outsiders rarely notice. The rituals of etiquette that quietly reinforce dignity and self-respect. From addressing elders by proper titles to writing handwritten thank you notes, these customs may seem outdated, but they serve a psychological purpose. They create boundaries, a sense of formality that preserves grace and composure, even in uncomfortable situations. In many old families, a child is taught how to greet guests, make introductions, and show gratitude. These aren't merely good manners. They're exercises in emotional regulation. When a young person knows exactly how to behave, they feel secure in any setting, whether at a royal gala or a modest dinner table. And that comfort translates into quiet confidence. Even the way they handle setbacks reflects it. Never panicking, never showing anger in public, always maintaining poise. This is why when the rest of the world reacts loudly, people from refined backgrounds seem composed. They've been conditioned to view manners as armor, a code of conduct that protects both dignity and peace of mind. 9. Building self-worth without empty praise. Another hidden tradition among legacy families is their unique approach to nurturing self-esteem. They rarely overpraise their children. Compliments are given sparingly, and when they are, they're tied to effort and integrity, not outcomes. A child isn't told, "You're amazing because you won." They're told, "You handled yourself with composure," or "You worked hard when things were difficult." This distinction shapes an entirely different kind of confidence, one that isn't dependent on applause or comparison. By valuing process over results, children grow into adults who are self-driven, not approval-seeking. They learn that validation should come from within, not from external recognition. And while the rest of the world craves attention, these individuals carry a quiet sense of assurance, the kind that doesn't need to be fed constantly because it's built on a foundation, not flattery. 10. The Sunday tradition, reflection, and reset. In some families, Sunday is sacred, not necessarily in a religious sense, but as a ritual of reflection and a reset. No matter how busy the week, Sunday becomes a day to regroup, write, read, or simply spend time in stillness. This small but powerful tradition teaches balance and mindfulness. It's a reminder that success means nothing if you lose your peace. For older family members, it's a time to journal or write letters. For younger ones, it might mean helping prepare family meals or taking long walks with elders. The rhythm is intentional, calm, grounded, and consistent. This deliberate slowing down creates a sense of stability that money alone can't provide. It builds an inner rhythm, a confidence rooted in calm. 11. The subtle lessons of generational objects. Every powerful family has something they pass down, but not just property or wealth, but objects that carry stories: a pocket watch, a book, a painting, a handwritten note. These items aren't valuable for their price. They're valuable because they connect generations through memory. When a child receives an heirloom, they aren't just given a possession. They're given responsibility. They're told, "This was your great-grandfather's. He wore it when he built his business from nothing." That story infuses the object with meaning. It's not just a reminder of the past, it's a standard to live up to. And in that moment, the child realizes that they're part of something worth protecting. It gives them direction, purpose, and a deeper sense of belonging, all key ingredients of lasting confidence. 12. The unspoken code, conduct in public and private. In most elite families, there's an unwritten rulebook that governs behavior both inside and outside the home. It's not posted or preached, now it's absorbed. Children watch how their parents treat staff, how they speak to waiters, and how they react under pressure. They learn early that composure is not optional. It's expected. The family's dignity is maintained not through words, but through restraint. And when you're raised to believe that your actions reflect generations before you, every choice becomes a matter of principle, not impulse. This awareness that you represent more than yourself develops an extraordinary level of self-discipline. It's why individuals from old money families often seem effortlessly self-assured. 13. The rule of silence, thinking before speaking. Here's one of the most overlooked traditions in the world of the wealthy: the discipline of silence. Children are often taught that speaking less gives more power to their words. Whether it's at dinner, in business, or during conflict, restraint is seen as strength. They're reminded that wisdom is rarely loud. This practice creates a different type of confidence, one grounded in patience, observation, and control. In the real world, that translates to composure in boardrooms, diplomacy in conversations, and presence in social circles. When others rush to prove themselves, those raised under this principle stand still, calm, centered, and confident. 14. The continuity of culture. Many families that endure across generations share another habit: the preservation of culture, whether through language, art, or heritage. This isn't about nostalgia, it's about identity. Speaking a second language, studying classical literature, or learning traditional music connects each generation to something timeless. It reminds them that they come from history and not just wealth. When children are exposed to their cultural roots, they inherit not just knowledge, but pride in where they come from. 15. The future letter. Tradition. Some legacy families have a remarkable ritual during milestone birthdays, writing a future letter. Each family member writes a letter to their future self, sealing it for 10 or 20 years later. The act itself is powerful. It teaches reflection, patience, and long-term vision, values deeply embedded in families that think generationally. When the letter is finally opened, it becomes a mirror. It reveals growth, maturity, and the power of time. And with that awareness comes confidence, not in who they were, but in who they've become. 16. The thread that connects it all. When you look closely at all these traditions, the family dinners, the letters, the service, the discipline, you'll notice one thing. They all build confidence from within. Not the loud kind, not the performative kind, but the quiet, unwavering confidence that allows someone to face uncertainty without fear. Because they know where they come from. They know what they stand for, and they've been raised to carry that with grace. That's the real inheritance, not the fortune, but the foundation. Generational confidence isn't born from money. It's built through meaning, and that's the secret of families who last.